now tuned in
You are now tuned into
to the realest show on YouTube with your host, the Angryman.
We are back yet again, and we got a lot to talk about. We got a whole lot to talk about. We got to talk about, matter of fact, I'm actually going to play some of the Joe Rogan, Donald Trump interview. I don't even know if we can review it. I might be able to get away with playing the sound. Have y'all seen anybody else reviewing it, like showing it when they're reviewing it? Y'all seen anybody else showing it while they're reviewing it? Okay, so we might be able to get away with showing some of it. So I'm going to give you guys a reaction, and I have not seen it. I've only seen clips of it. I haven't seen the whole thing because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait until I do a show about it so I can give you guys my honest reaction to it. But first things first, we got to talk about chamomile. Oh, yes. We must talk about chamomile hattas. You feel me? They were all over social media. They were all over the news talking about how this rally in Houston was going to have a performance from Beyonce. How many of y'all saw that? How many of you saw them advertising that they were going to have a Beyonce concert at the Kamala rally? Like, y'all saw that, right? I mean, and why wouldn't you believe it? It's not like Megan Thee Stallion didn't get up there and do a whole performance. You feel me? You remember Megan got up there and twerked and danced and did a whole bunch of, gyrating and humping the stage and everything that you could think of, she did it, right? Now, the interesting thing about this is we heard this before. If you remember, right before the Democratic National Convention, they were all over social media saying that Beyonce was going to be there and Beyonce was going to perform. Y'all remember that, right? Y'all remember that, right? Beyonce was going to be the headliner at the Democratic National Convention. See, the only problem with that is, Kamala, you're supposed to be the headliner. They're supposed to be there because they want to see you. Not Beyonce, not Usher, and certainly not Lizzo. So that's problematic, right? Already off the rip, right? So they were advertising in the news that Beyonce was going to be there and she was going to perform or whatever. Only problem was Beyonce showed up and talked for 4 minutes and then walked off the stage. Now, after she walked off the stage, there were quite many disgruntled, angry individuals in the crowd, which started to boo. You feel me? Boo! Boo this woman! Because after Beyonce walked off the stage, Chamomile came onto the stage and tried to talk or whatever. And you know what's so funny about it? What's so funny about it is while she was up there and they started booing, right? She tried to keep a smile on her face like she didn't know they was booing. This is the funniest thing in the world to me. She's up there like we know the difference between booing and cheering, Kamala. We know the difference. And then she tried to use the same, then she tried to say, some of them, some of the people was, they calmed down for a second and then they turned up again. They started booing again. And she was like, I think they want to go to the smaller rally down the street. I think they want to go to the smaller rally. Like, get some new lines, Kamala. Get some new lines. Please. We're tired of hearing the same old canned responses. Now, here's the funny thing about it. The funny thing about it is you're sitting there talking about I think they want to go to the smaller rally down the street. First of all, there wasn't no smaller rally down the street. Because while you were failing in spectacular fashion, Donald Trump was preparing to break the internet, which is what he did. Now, here's the other funny thing, right? Because I played the clip at the beginning of the show, right? Kamala has this new narrative that she's trying to run with, right? So now she's running around because, she was trying to bait Donald Trump into a debate on CNN for a second debate, right? So she jumped up there and said this.
As for last night, yet again, Trump not showing up, refused to be a part of a CNN debate, and clearly his staff has been saying he's exhausted, and the sad part about that is he's trying to be president of the United States, probably the toughest job in the world, and he's
let me rewind. I'm gonna rewind this because the audacity. I mean the temerity, the unmitigated gall. Like, watch. Let's just run this back real quick. It's unbelievable. You feel me? The oh my God.
As for last night, yet again, Trump not showing up, refused to be a part of a CNN debate, and clearly his staff has been saying he's exhausted, and the sad part about that is he's trying to be president of the United States, probably the toughest job in the world, and
Kamala. He didn't show up again for a CNN debate. He already told you he wasn't showing up. See, in order for him to debate you, he has to accept the invitation. He doesn't have to accept the invitation. But in order to actually debate him, he would have to say yes to the invitation, which he didn't. Now, this whole narrative that you're trying to run with, his staff is saying that he's tired and he's trying to be the president of the United States, which is a very tiring job. First of all, Kamal, he's not trying to be president. He already was president. Don't y'all find it like, I don't mean no harm, but don't y'all find it ridiculous that she's trying to give lectures about the duties of the president of the United States to a man who was president? The only, you know what, if I was Donald Trump, I would hit her with that same crap that she tries to hit him with. You know, when she goes into I'm the only person running for office that has prosecuted transnational criminals. I've prosecuted this cartel and this cartel. You know what I would hit her with? I'm the only candidate that's actually been president before. You, Kamala, was playing second fiddle to a dude that sucked at being president. Saying that Donald Trump is trying to be president is hilarious, considering the fact that he is one of the most successful presidents in recent history. Period. Point blank, period. If you sit there and you look at his record, instead of listening to MSDNC, you feel me, or DNN News, if you stop listening to them and actually look at his record, he is one of the most successful presidents in recent history. That's facts. So for you to sit up here and give this lecture, and oh my God, you know what? I don't want to make it about gender. I really don't want to make it about gender. But doesn't she remind you of the condescending, lying ex-girlfriend? Doesn't she remind you of that? Doesn't she remind you of that chick that after it's all over, she's just lying to everybody about you, and everything she says is in a condescending tone, and she just acts like she's so much better than you, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't stand this bitch. Like, doesn't she remind you of that, bruh? Yeah, his staff is saying that he's exhausted. First of all, Kamala, Trump could run circles around you. And that's the reason why I showed the clip earlier of his schedule. You feel me? Let me play it again. Let's play the clip again.
Starting our day off bright and early, it is 7:30 a.m. and we are leaving Trump Tower and heading to Fox Studios. President Trump was excited to join Fox & Friends live from the famous Kirby couch. Never far behind are the men who keep our boss safe every day, and we are thankful for them. The day continues rolling as he joins Dan Bongino for a live stream, and he never leaves without signing a MAGA hat. Now on to our third interview of the morning with legendary WWE's Mark Calloway, also known as The Undertaker. We film a quick TikTok, depart the city, and 2 hours later, we are wheels down in Michigan. President Trump stops by to shake hands and thank the tireless Michigan campaign team. The motorcade heads to our next stop, where President Trump arrives to speak at a roundtable on building America's future. If you're lucky, he may even sign your shirt. Pulling into our final event of the day, and before he heads on stage, he always makes time to take photos with law enforcement. And now the fun begins. There is nothing like the energy of a Trump rally. President Trump delivers his promise to make America safe and prosperous again. It's not over until you see the iconic Trump dance. And just when you think he might be finished, he has his fourth interview of the day and calls into a tele-rally for Carrie Lake. It's 1 a.m. back in New York City, and that's a wrap.
The man is, look, that one guy, you took the words right out of my mouth. The man is a machine. The man is a machine. Consider these facts. Consider the fact that he has spent the last few years fighting for his freedom. Consider the fact that the media talks about him in a negative way 90-some% of the time. Consider the fact that there have been a couple of attempts on his life. Consider the fact that the man is 78 years old, and he is more productive than most 20-year-olds. He is more productive than, like, let's stop playing these games, man. Let's stop playing these games. And like, bruh, And she has the nerve to get up there and say, oh, his campaign is saying he's exhausted, so he must be tired. No, your ass is tired, Kamala. Your campaign is tired. Your rhetoric is tired. Your excuses is tired. In fact, that turkey goblet of a Nick of yours is tired too. Everything about you is tired. Tired and played out. Your fake accents, tired. You feel me? Them pearl earrings, tired. Your whole shtick is tired. Let's be real. Now, here's the other thing they've been doing recently. As of late, they have been running around the media, and I'm talking about everybody doing it. She literally gave a press conference. She gave a press conference. She called a press conference to tell the press that Donald Trump is a fascist. I shit you not. She literally called a press conference in order to call Donald Trump a fascist. The White House press secretary, with her goofy face and her Orphan Annie hairdo, stood up on that podium and said that Donald Trump is like the level of desperation. That's the best way to put it. The level of desperation, they are reeking of desperation. They're reeking of it. It is literally dripping off of them. Because guess what? We now live in the internet age. Okay? We live in the internet age. Now, in the internet age, there is a little something called Godwin's Law. Godwin's Law. Do y'all know what Godwin's Law is? Do y'all know what that is? How many of you know what that is? Press a 1 if you know what Godwin's Law is. Press a 1 if you know what that is. And they're so out of touch that they don't even understand this about the internet. They don't even understand this. Mainstream media doesn't understand this, right? So, for the people out here that don't know what Godwin's Law is, let me break it down for you, right? Godwin's Law is basically the concept that when you're debating or arguing a point or trying to sway people to your opinion, right? The moment that you invoke the name Hitler, you have lost the debate. You have lost the conversation, because people only do that when they don't have any talking points left. When they don't have anything else left, they compare whoever they're debating to the guy with the short mustache, which is pathetic. But that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Now, here's the other interesting thing about it, right? The other interesting thing about this is that they're doing this in a climate where people have already made attempts on this man's life. Wasn't all of media one day after that first attempt, didn't they say, oh, we need to tone down the political rhetoric because some of it is dangerous? So why are y'all still running around calling this man every dictator that has... The only thing they haven't called him is Lucifer. But don't worry, that's probably going to happen next week. The only thing they haven't called him is the devil himself. Right? But it shows just how desperate this sinking ship is. And that's what it is. It's a sinking ship. It is a sinking ship. Let me tell you something. If you remember the 2016 election, in other words, if you paid attention to the numbers, if you remember the 2020 election, in other words, you paid attention to the numbers. If you paid attention to those numbers and you're looking at these numbers right now, you know what time it is. Oh, you know what time it is. You know what time it is. Now, if you take that and you put that in your equation, you put that up on your blackboard, you put that equation up there. Also add to it that the Democrats are pulling every celebrity they can find out of their ass. Right? You add to that they keep calling Trump, Mussolini and whoever else, you know what I'm saying? Castro, whatever dictator they can think of, they just call him that, right? So much so that Kamala's up there talking about there was a person that was in his cabinet that said he wanted soldiers and generals like the guy with the short mustache. Like, so we just now hearing about this. So this happened back during his presidency, right? But we're just now hearing about this days before the election when your numbers are down. And here's the little juicy tidbit about why this strategy isn't working. You want to know why this strategy isn't working? It isn't working because you overused it. See, calling him a dictator and a fascist with less than 13 days till the election, it just doesn't hit the same. You know why it doesn't hit the same? Because during the 4 years that Joe Biden was in office, instead of reporting the news about Joe Biden and whatever he had going on, you spent all of them 4 years talking shit about Trump as if he was still in office. And during that time that you were talking shit about Trump, you've already called him Hitler. You've already called him a fascist. You've already called him all of these things. And as the lovely Sade put it, it's never as good as the first time. You've said it too much. You've said it too much. In fact, you've said it so much that the American public is desensitized to it. We don't give a shit. We don't care. We don't care. Plus, you have been socially programming us not to care about your fascism. So why would we care if he actually was a fascist? That's the funny thing about it. The Democrat Party has been slowly gaslighting and socializing us to accept their fascism. So even if he was, which he isn't, but even if he was a fascist, why would anybody care? Why would anybody care? It's like, y'all know that last week Trump put a little old lady in the headlock, and the American public is like this. He did what? Look, man, I don't care who he puts in the headlock as long as he get these gas prices down. I don't care who he put in the headlock as long as he do something about this inflation. I don't care who he put in the headlock as long as he closes that border. I don't care who he put in the headlock as long as he gets my freaking car insurance and light bill down. People don't care. People do not care. They are sick and tired of being sick and tired. In fact, Kamala, if you spent half as much time addressing the real issues of the people, if you spend half as much time giving a comprehensive plan that is going to actually lower inflation, a comprehensive plan that's going to bring down energy costs, a comprehensive plan, right? In fact, if you were to flat out say, day one of my presidency, I'm going to sign an executive order and close the border. If you were to say that, you would get a tremendous amount of support. Those people that's on the fence, they would fall over into your lane. But you know the reason why she's not going to say it? Do you want to know the reason why she's not going to say it? Do you really want to know the reason why she doesn't answer any questions? See, the women might not know, but every guy in here knows. Every guy in here knows. If you're in a relationship with a woman, fellas, and you ask your woman to do something, and it's something that she knows you really want her to do. Now, she doesn't want to do it, but she doesn't want to say no either because she don't want to piss you off. So what she does is she gives you this vague, subjective answer that's right there in the middle. That's so that she has plausible deniability to say that she didn't agree to it, while simultaneously pacifying you by not directly saying she's not going to do it. That's what women do. I hate to have to make this about gender, but that's what women do. And the reason why they do that is because they know that if they say they're going to do it, they're going to have to do it. Why? Because one of the things a woman never wants to be is wrong. So if she says to you, I'm going to do XYZ, and then she doesn't do XYZ, you now have ammo to say, see, your ass is a liar, you wrong, you know that, and they don't want that. They don't want to give you no ammunition. So everything that y'all are asking her about, everything that every American has asked her about, and she's given this word salad answer, all that tells you is she ain't gonna do it. That's all it tells you. When you ask her about the border, word salad. She don't give a damn about the border. She gonna leave that mug open. When you ask her about the cost of living, word salad. She ain't gonna do nothing about it. She's lying to you. And she's lying through lies of omission because she's not gonna, you can't pin her down to anything. You can't, even right now, if you're a Democrat, you can't say for certain that she's gonna do anything. You can't. You can't. You can't say for certain she's gonna do anything. What she's gonna do is the same thing she just did with this rally. She's gonna lead you to believe that Beyonce is performing, and then when your ass show up to the rally, Beyonce ain't performing. In other words, she's going to lead you to believe that she's charting a new way forward and she's going to fix all of these problems. And when you show up to vote, and by some miracle, she actually becomes a president, she ain't going to do shit. That's the truth. It don't get no simpler than that. It don't get no simpler than that. See, a guy is going to be drastically different. He's either going to say he's doing it and do it, or he's going to say he's doing it and not do it. He's either going to tell you the truth or he's going to lie. One or the other. But see, because men are like that, it is easier to hold men accountable. You feel me? And this is why us men, we get frustrated with men who try to speak subjectively or try to stay in a gray area. You remember The Godfather, right? When Kay was pregnant with another child, and she lost the child, and you know, Michael's brother told him Kay lost the child, and Michael's like, was it a boy? Well, you know, Mike, you know, at that stage you can't really. Was it a boy? Why can't I get a straight answer out of you? See, the reason why us fellas want straight answers, because we can hold your ass accountable. So if you tell us a lie, we can circle back and say, you's a lying MFer. And now we know not to trust you. If you tell the truth, okay, cool. That's a solid dude. I can depend on him. I can rely on him. Right? But women, they like to play these games. They like to stay in the subjective area. They don't like to be pinned down to a answer when it comes to certain things. You feel what I'm saying? When it's just like if you first meet a chick and y'all talking on the phone or whatever, and you like, hey, you want to Netflix and chill? And she's like, okay, you know? And then you're like, yo, so am I going to get some? She'll be like, you know, she'll give you an answer like, let's just hang out and see what happens. See, it's one of those things. Why? Because she wants the wiggle room. You feel me? She wants the wiggle room. Because in her mind, she's like, okay, if he comes over here, I might want to do it, but I might change my mind and I might not want to do it. And see, a woman doesn't want to tell you she's going to do something if she knows in the back of her head that she might change her mind. Because if she tells you, yeah, we're going to do that, and then, y'all don't do it, now you got a reason to talk trash, and she ain't trying to hear that shit. So what they do is they just keep it vague. That way they can wiggle, and be like, well, nah, I'm not, I never said we was going to do anything. I never, that type of shit. And that's what Kamala's trying to do. She's treating the American public like you're a dude that's trying to get some from her. You feel me? So getting a better economy and a closed border and all of that, that's the equivalent of you trying to get you some. You feel what I'm saying? And so the American public just keeps asking her, like, am I going to get some? Well, let's just see what happens. Let's just see. Right? But meanwhile, while she's saying, let's just see, she wants something from you. She want you to go vote for her. And what is that like, fellas? That's like well, let's just see, but we going to dinner before we see. You feel what I'm saying? Like, let's just see. You feel me? But we going out to dinner to spend our money before we finding out if we really gonna get some. Like, come on, man. Come on. It's the oldest trick in the book. She trying to get your vote with the possibility of her doing something. Like, come on, man. It's like you whining and dining a chick with the possibility of doing something. You feel what I'm saying? And why? Because women don't like rejection. You feel me? Because, I get it. A woman would say, well, that's not fair, angry man. Why should I have to give it up just to go out to dinner with you? Well, you're right. You're not obligated to you're not obligated to have to give a guy some just because he took you out to dinner. The same way Kamala's not obligated to freaking do anything once you vote for her. Where the problem where the problem comes in is this, okay? If you don't want to give that man some, just tell him. Just tell him straight up. But you're not going to do that. And the reason why you're not going to do that is because if you tell him that you're not going to do it, he ain't going to take you out to dinner. The same way Kamala knows if she tells you, I'm not doing none of that shit, you're not going to vote for her. And therein lies the deception. Therein lies the BS. Okay? Therein lies the BS. And the problem is, you want something for nothing. You want something for nothing. And I ain't even gonna lie, like when it comes to the dating scene, the mental gymnastics that the ladies go through in order to get something for nothing is crazy. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. You feel me? And really, to be truthfully honest, I ain't even gonna lie to you. Even if the woman did give you some after y'all went out to dinner, she still got over in the situation. Because you paid for dinner and she got some Johnson. You just got some box. That's not a fair exchange. Because the sex is already a fair exchange. You feel what I'm saying? The only way it's a fair exchange is if you go out to dinner, you, the guy, pay for dinner, y'all have sex that night, and then the next day, she pays for dinner. You feel me? That's the only way it's a fair exchange. That's the only way it's a fair exchange, bruh. Now, in politics, it's a lot simpler. You feel me? The politician is supposed to say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. You vote for the politician. They win the election. They're supposed to do X, Y, Z. But Kamala is not going to tell you what she's really going to do. All she's going to do is give you those, look, let me tell you something. Here's her plan. We got I'm going to create an opportunity economy. Right? That's like a chick basically telling you, like, everything that Kamala has proposed that she's going to do is so weak and frivolous, right? It's the equivalent of a chick telling you, if you said, so am I going to get some tonight? And she said, well, I might let you rub on me. I might let you just rub on me. You feel what I'm saying? I might just let you, cop a feel. You feel what I'm saying? He's like, cop a feel? Cop a feel? No. No, that's not gonna be enough. It's not gonna be enough. If that's all we doing, we might as well go ahead and cancel this date. We might as well just go ahead and shut this down. You feel me? We might as well just go ahead and shut this down. Like, this is not beneficial to me whatsoever. You feel what I'm saying? I've been looking at them yams all week, and you talking about copping the field. Nah. You feel what I'm saying? No. You feel me? If I show up to the dance, I want to dance. You feel what I'm saying? I want a boogie. You feel me? But Kamala, she's not, look, I'm telling you right now, she ain't doing none of that. She ain't doing none of that, bruh. So don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself. Shout out to Cutie Exec. He said, a wise man once told me, you never want to step in your own shit. That's what the Dems are doing right now. Stepping in their own shit is fool's gold. That's facts. That's facts. Yo, shout out to Bryant. He said street conservative in the house. Respect. Appreciate you, broski.
Here we go again. $100 boss up. Going down. Stack up and match up.
That's real. And by the way, if you're just coming in here, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the Cash App and support the show. Anybody that hits the Cash App tonight on this stream will get a wrench. Anybody that hits the Cash App tonight on this stream will get a wrench. If you've already hit the Cash App and you don't have a wrench, press 1 in the chat room so I can get you your wrench. But yeah, their strategy has failed. It's failed because, look, going with the same analogy, and I know it's hard, it's difficult because Trump is a dude, but just hear me out, right? Just hear me out. When it comes to Donald Trump, right, in the dating scenario, as far as voting, right? Donald Trump would be the chick that's giving it up. That is giving it up. The chick that if you go on a date and pay for dinner and a movie, you getting some. That's the difference. That is the difference. You feel me? Pause. Because I know Donald Trump is a dude, but you feel what I'm saying? In that analogy that I gave you, You feel me? Out of the two candidates, Kamala is the tease. You feel me? Trump is the one that's giving it up because it was given up before. You feel what I'm saying? Let's be real. Let's be real. You know it's a fact. You can say what you want to say, but things were better under Donald Trump. You feel what I'm saying? Let's stop playing. Let's stop playing. We already know what time it is. And by the way, I pray to God, because everything that Donald Trump is doing, Kamala's trying to copy in some way. I pray to God she goes on the Joe Rogan show. Oh, I wanted to go. Please, whoever, if anybody is working for the Kamala campaign, please suggest that to her. Please suggest that to her. Please. I want her to go on the Joe Rogan show so bad. I want her to go on that show so bad. Let me tell you something. Because of the way that Joe Rogan asks questions. Like Joe Rogan, you know, I'm not even going to front. Joe Rogan is a Jedi master at podcasting and interviewing. Like nobody's better at it than him. Nobody. I don't care who you are. There are very few people that are as good as he is when it comes to conversing and interviewing, right? Because he's gonna have regular talk with you. Like Joe Rogan is the type of dude that he's the type of dude that'll get high and just like, yeah, man, like this is crazy out here, man. Like, he's like, Joe Rogan gives me Willie Nelson vibes. You feel me? He gives me Tommy Chong vibes. Like, you know the type of guys that's just super chill and laid back, and it's like he's not trying to have an argumentative conversation. He's just having the conversation, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just having the conversation. And the thing about it that I know, if anybody can, Joe Rogan will pull the real Kamala out. He'll pull the real Kamala out. And could you imagine her talking to Joe Rogan for 3 hours? Because she's not going to be able to do that word salad shit with him. Joe Rogan ain't going for that. Joe Rogan is not going for that. He's going to ask that question again, just in a different way. You feel what I'm saying? He's going to ask that question in a different way. Like, he's not going to let you off the hook like that. Shout out to James, said, I've been exiled from the community. Hey, they did you a favor, bruh. They did you a favor. Shout out to Frame Runner, said Kamala was supposed to be on Club Shay Shay. Oh my God. Well, it doesn't matter where she goes. It does not matter where she goes, bro. Wherever she goes, wherever she goes, she is going to be an unmitigated disaster. You feel me? It doesn't matter where she goes. Wherever she goes, disaster is going to follow. Shout out to Ari Nicole, said always listening, forever supporting. Appreciate you. wherever she goes, it's gonna be some bullshit. Oh, wherever she goes. Now, going back to the Beyonce thing, right? Y'all know why Beyonce didn't perform, right? Does anybody know the reason why Beyonce didn't perform? I may be the first person up here on YouTube that's giving you the real reason she didn't perform. You want to know the reason she didn't perform? Hit a 1 if you want to know the reason. Press 1 if you want to know the reason. Because they can't afford her. They can't afford her. Now, I'll give you this. The Democrats raised a ridiculous amount of money for Kamala. But the only problem is this. They can't afford to put that big of a dent in their campaign funding by having Beyonce. Because think about it like this. If Beyonce would have performed, it would have been a free concert for the people that showed up there. But just because the people that showed up there didn't have to pay doesn't mean somebody ain't gonna pay. And I don't know if y'all know how much Beyonce charged for tickets. Okay? How much she charged for shows. Like they couldn't afford her. I guarantee you, the only thing they could afford was them 4 minutes that she talked. Look, let me tell you something. Beyonce ain't doing nothing for free. That's Hov's wife. That's Hov's wife. She ain't doing nothing for free. That's Hov's wife, bruh. She ain't doing nothing for free. It's like, what? Excuse me? You want me to do what? How much we talking here? Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. But Angryman, she a billionaire. Look, let me tell you something. Well, let's get something clear. Let's get something clear. Because this is something that black folk don't understand, right? This is something that black folk don't understand. When you make more money, you become worth more money. See, I'm going to tell you the way black people think. This is how black people think. Black people be like, well, if somebody's a billionaire, they don't really need the money. They shouldn't even be charging that much for their shows. No, that's not how that works. Okay. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Okay. Because if you are a businessman, okay, you have to calculate what your time is worth. Okay? You got to calculate what your time is worth. If you command a certain amount of money, people got to pay for that time. And the reason why is because if somebody's taking you away from something that you're doing, in other words, you're normally doing this and it's generating a certain amount of money. And then somebody, like for instance, let's just say for argument's sake that I do a show and let's say that I do a live stream and let's say I'm able to make 5 bands. Let's say 5 bands just for argument's sake, right? If I'm able to make 5 bands doing a live stream for a few hours, right? somebody can't come to me and say, hey, you know that time frame where you usually do your live stream? Yeah, I want to book you to come do a speaking engagement at this community center. And then I'm like, okay, well, how much you gonna pay? Oh, well, we'll give you a couple $100. What? Why would I go do a speaking engagement for a couple $100 when I know I can stay where I'm at and make 5,000? You see what I'm saying? It has to be worth it. You feel me? Now, that's not the same as charity. Okay? The thing with charity is when you initiate it. Like if I decide, okay, you know, I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to go do something out of the kindness of my heart. That's on me. Because I'm determining what I do with my time. But you can't let people just hijack your time. You feel me? Hey, I know you usually do this and you usually make this amount of money, but bring your ass over here and make a couple $100. Like, hell no. What's wrong with you? You bugging right now. You bugging right now. You feel me? And I guarantee you that's the way that family, I guarantee you that's the way the Carter family thinks. It got to be worth it. You feel what I'm saying? It got to be worth it. And whatever, I guarantee you, it was only worth 4 minutes of time. 4 minutes. You think I'm lying? Go back and listen to it and time it. She talked for 4 minutes and that was it. Now, as far as Kelly, you feel what I'm saying? She showed up and tagged along with her. You feel me? Because what the hell else is she doing besides buying ugly ass suits? Did y'all see that suit? Was that supposed to be a joke? That looked like something that Kanye would wear when he's trolling people. You feel me? What was on her mind? What was that? What was that suit? Did y'all see that ridiculous thing? And then somebody else went up there. I ain't gonna say no names. I'm not gonna say no names. But somebody else went up there and spoke. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Because she was standing up there talking and she said, I'm sorry, y'all. I can't read the teleprompter. I'm having a hard time seeing the teleprompter. Now look. I don't like I don't like shout out to my man Gongu. He said AM her Live Nation contract probably wouldn't allow Beyonce to perform for free. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Now I don't like to talk about nobody mama. So I ain't gonna do that. But I do got something to say though. Shout out to oh man, the Miami Heat beat the Charlotte Hornets. I'm glad I didn't go to that game. Tall said T-Pain made the same case about doing a show for a couple thousand when he could stay at home and make twice as much, just to mention 7-Eleven while playing video games on Twitch. Yeah. So I'm going to say this. To the older ladies that have money. To the older ladies that have money. Shout out to Gongu. Appreciate you, broski. To the older ladies that have money. You got to chill on the Botox. Yeah. You got to chill on the Botox. It's getting bad. It's getting bad. And to the celebrities in general, you got to chill on the Ozempic. You got like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but you're looking crazy out here. You're looking real crazy out here. You looking real crazy out here. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You looking real crazy out here. It's getting bad. It's getting bad. Now, we're about to review this Joe Rogan. We're about to review this Joe Rogan, Donald Trump, awesome interview. You know, the clips I saw were awesome. But before we do this, we need some folks to support the show. If y'all want to keep the chat room open, support the show. If you want to keep the chat room open, hit the Cash App, support the show. We need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show. If not, we're going to close the chat room. We're going to close the chat room to only members and subscribers. So hit the Cash App and support the show. All of that good stuff. Yo, shout out to my man D-Prez in the building. My man Malika said, Angryman, her mom looked like Ron Perlman from... Yo. Richard Lawson is somewhere like this. Oh my God. Shout out to Mr. Lone Star. He said looking like Max Headroom with that Botox. Yo, shout out to Randy. Appreciate you, man. Like, sweet Jesus. What is going on? Oh my God. Yo, shout out to Big Waves. He said, keep it going, OG. Not Max Headroom. Shout out to Carnell. Now, look, I'm going to tell y'all the truth. Hey, Malika and all you look, bringing up Beauty and the Beast and Max Headroom, y'all showing your age. Look, the funny thing about it is whenever we make references like this, I know most of the people here, you feel me? I know most of the people here, we catch all of the references, right? But if there's any young folk watching this show, they're probably like, what the hell? Beauty and the Beast? Max Headroom? Who the hell is Max? Oh my God. Who the hell is Max Headroom? Don't even worry about it. If you super young, don't even worry about it. That was during a time where things were normal. Okay? That was during a time where things were normal. You feel me? See, in the 90s, you know, if you asked, if you told somebody that your pronouns was whatever, they would probably look at you like you were crazy. What? Man said max headroom. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Let's click on this video, see what's going down. Yo, this joint, this interview was 21 hours ago. It's at 20 million views, y'all. 20 million views.
Stay. They all came to.
Was 2015.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
All right, we're rolling. Good to see you, sir.
Go.
Here we go. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to play this, but we decided we shouldn't play it because it could get copyright strike, and we don't want to get the episode. We don't want anybody to have any sort of a way to get it down.
Sure.
But it was the episode of you when you were on The View. And I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you're, you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Yeah.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked, and the way they've done it, so coordinated and systematically. When you see those same people in the past, very favorable to you, like Oprah, when you were on Oprah's show.
Very.
She was
This is why I love Joe Rogan. Oh my God, this is why I love him. I love him. Pause. I guess you got to say pause. When one man professes his love for another man, I guess I got to say pause, but I love him. The first question, he's calling out the hypocrisy. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
encouraging you to
Last
be president.
week I did one of her last shows. I think maybe Thursday or Friday. That was a big deal being on Oprah's show, the last one. And I was like one of the last shows in that final week. And I said, boy, we've come a long way since that.
What was it like?
Now, some of y'all probably wonder, why does Trump do this with his hands when he's talking? You might not know this, but people, when they are doing public speaking, right? Anybody that ever trains you to do public speaking, they'll let you know that using your hands while you're talking is actually a good thing. If you're doing the right gestures. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a bad gesture. You feel me? Doing this, you know, which is why politicians do this with the thumb instead of pointing. They have to force themselves to do this, right? But, you know, this is good. You know, this is good. Not this. You know what I'm saying? Because certain hand gestures, you know, they mean certain things subconsciously that could be negative or positive.
Like?
The concept, it was really like two different lives. You know, I had a very wonderful life, but I wanted to do this. The Apprentice was still going very strong. We had 12 seasons, and we had actually 14 seasons, 12 years over. They had a couple
Well,
of
they
them.
canceled The Apprentice when you were running for president, correct?
No, they had Arnold Schwarzenegger do it. I was involved in that, and I had enough of it, and we did great. It was doing great, but they wanted me to stay. They all came to see me. They said, we're going to give you a contract. They wanted to extend my contract. Mark Burnett is a great guy. Then they wanted to extend the contract. Mark said, you're crazy. Don't run. No. Nobody gives up prime time, they said. You know, it's one of those little things, which is probably true.
Nobody gives up prime time, though, for being president?
For running against 20 some odd people, you know. It turned out to be 18 professional people, you know, mostly politicians. They said, who would do this? I mean, it's a long shot. Actually, the heads of NBC came over, the Paul Telegny, all the top people came over to see me, try and talk me out of it, because they wanted to have me extend. The Apprentice was doing well. So it was 14 seasons. It was 12 years. We had 2 seasons where we had a double, which rarely happens. It was just a hot show. And I said, you know, I want to do this. What happened is previously, like 4 years before that, they did a poll. They had Mitt Romney, and somehow they put me in a poll, and I blew everybody away. I blew him away, which isn't that hard, frankly, but I blew everybody away. And I said, that's interesting, because I never really gave it that much real thought. I thought about it, but never real thought. But I saw these polls were very good. And so I was thinking about doing it then, but I had a contract with The Apprentice. Plus, I was building 2 big buildings at the time, and I wanted to make sure they got finished up properly. And it was one of those things. The kids were just sort of getting involved. They're very capable kids, but they were getting involved early on. So I did that. I got them done. I had some very good successes. And I came on, and then I thought about it for the next one after the Romney disaster. And I ran, and I won against Hillary. It was quite an experience, but it was a different life, because you're right, The View. I was on The View many, many times, and they loved me.
Just the way people would talk. I mean, even if people had criticisms about you, people that didn't like you, there was always feuds and stuff like that. But the reality was, the thing turned on you when they found out that you were going to be president. It was very coordinated, and some people are catching on to that now. There's a lot of people that were longtime Democrats, like Elon and Bill Ackman and all these different, very intelligent people.
And they support me now. Bill Ackman supports me. He's been very supportive, too.
This is what I wanted to ask you. What was it like when you actually got in? Because nobody really can prepare you for that. When you're running for president, you don't really know what it's going to be like when you actually get into office. What did you think it was going to be like?
In office, or when I decided to run?
So when you got in.
When I was in. So when I was in and won and was in the White House, essentially. Yes. Well, first of all, it was very surreal.
I would imagine.
It's very interesting. When I got shot, it wasn't surreal. That should have been surreal. When I was laying on the ground, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew exactly where I was hit. They were saying you were hit all over the place because there was so much blood from the ear. You would know that better than anyone. When they get the ear torn up,
ears bleed a lot.
They bleed. Anyway, so and I was thinking the other day, when that happened, I really knew where I was. I knew exactly what happened. I said I wasn't hit anywhere else. With the presidency, it was a very surreal experience. Okay.
And what's day one like? You win, you get inaugurated, holy shit, I'm the president.
Yeah, that's what happened. So I'm driving down Pennsylvania Avenue. I just built a building on Pennsylvania, you know, the hotel, the old post office it was. We called it Trump National Hotel. And we sold it to the Waldorf Astoria. And it was a wonderful thing. But I'm driving down, I'm passing the hotel. You've never seen so many motorcycles, police, military. You know, it was a major thing. I got off. Really the first time I used Air Force One, landed, and we're coming down, and it was very beautiful. I mean, it was incredible. And we're going down Pennsylvania Avenue in the opposite direction. You know, normally you're used to going one way, and all of a sudden you're going the other way. The street was loaded up, and I wanted to go out, and I wanted to wave to everybody, but that wasn't smart. You know, the kid's a little bit dangerous, right? I mean, when you watch like Kennedy and some others, right? But I really felt, I don't know, the love was so crazy. And so I did get out of the car for a brief, you know, just for a very short walk. I thought it was very important to do. And Melania got out with her beautiful dress on that became sort of a staple. It was, people loved it. And Barron, and we're walking down the street. But where it really got amazing. We get to the White House, and now it's a little bit before dark, beautiful. And we went up to the president's quarters. They call them the presidential quarters. And I'm standing in this beautiful hallway. It's funny, nobody ever talks about the White House as being beautiful inside. You think it's going to be, everything's going to be all metal doors and stuff. It's not. It's so beautiful. I made my money largely on luxury. The hallway is like 25 feet wide. The ceiling heights are, it's so beautiful. But I was standing there, and I said to the guys, I want to see the Lincoln bedroom. I had never seen the Lincoln bedroom. I'd heard about the Lincoln bedroom. And I was standing with my wife. I said, do you believe it? This is the Lincoln bedroom. I mean, it was like, it was amazing.
Yo, this is crazy. Shout out to Tall. He said, I love how he's making sidebars, but coming back to the questions almost like he has full control of his Of course. He's making sure like Trump is really, like, even though Joe Rogan is he's really good at controlling the conversation, but Trump is also good at controlling the conversation. So it's like when Trump wants to add something in that he wants everybody to know, he says that, and then he circles back to Joe Rogan's question, which is really good. But he, like, the way he controls it, like everybody's not able to be captivating, right? So right now, this story that he's telling, like, it lets you know that, he's impressed. Like, he's Donald Trump. He's Donald Trump, and he's impressed with the White House. You feel me? The only way, let me tell you something. If you're a billionaire like Donald Trump, okay, you have Trump Tower in New York City. You're a New Yorker. First of all, let me explain something to you about New Yorkers. New Yorkers are not easily impressed. They're just not. They're just not. You gotta go above and beyond to impress a New Yorker, right? So just the fact, the only way that this man could be impressed with the White House like that is he has to be the type of dude that loves America and the just everything that surrounds American culture, for him to be that, impressed, like, oh my God, this is the Lincoln bedroom. You know what I'm saying?
Because look, if you love the country, but here you are, the Lincoln bedroom.
I told you.
And the bed, he was very tall. He was 6'6", which then would be like Barron.
Right.
Would be like Barron Trump. He's 6'9", but 6'6". He was very tall. Then on top of that,
There it is.
He wore that. Yeah, there it is. It's a long bed, elongated bed. And because people were shorter than you see, some of the chairs are very, very low to the ground, actually. But he had the long bed, and they had you had the Gettysburg Address right under that. You can't see it here, but right there, the original version of the Gettysburg Address. And this is the original. And I'm looking, and I just looked around. I said, "Do you believe this?" Because I was never first of all, even if you were a politician, but I was never a politician. I sort of just started, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden I'm standing in the White House. And it was very, very surreal. That room was so beautiful to me, much more beautiful than it actually is. To me, when I looked at the bed, and the bed you could see was a little bit longer, had to be a little bit longer. He lost his son, and the two of them suffered from melancholia. They didn't call it depression. They called it melancholia. And they suffered from it. He was a very depressed guy, and she was a very depressed woman, more so than him. And on top of that, they lost their son, whose name was Ted. And it was just seeing it in the little picture, the little tiny picture. I mean, you can't see the details there. Little tiny, everything the way it was, a little tiny picture of Ted, who he lost. And it was devastating. And he was in a war. He was having a hard time because he couldn't beat Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee won like 13 battles in a row, and he was getting like a phobia, like a fighter. A lot about the fight stuff, but like I went to a UFC fight, and it was a champion who was 14-1 about a year ago. You would know the names. 14.
Yo, shout out to James. James said, please unblock me. Great show, AM. You are unblocked, sir.
And one, and the only guy he lost to was this one guy, but the guy that he was fighting was like almost just an average fighter. Lost numerous times, but he beat this one guy. So I said, okay.
I really don't know who you're talking about.
I will figure it out.
Okay.
But about a year ago. But the point is that he lost. He wasn't nearly the fighter as the one. But the one who was not nearly the fighter had beaten. He's the only guy that beat the champ like 5 years before. And I said, I'll take the guy that won the other fight. And that's what happened. He beat him a second time.
Sometimes
Lincoln,
psychological advantages.
Yeah, what is this crazy thing? Lincoln had I don't know, I've never read this. I heard it from people in the White House who really understand what was going on with the whole life of the White House. But Lincoln had the yips about, in a way, as the golfers would say. He had a phobia about Robert E. Lee. He said, I can't beat Robert, because Robert E. Lee won many battles in a row. He was just beating the hell out of him. You know, they tried to get Robert E. Lee to be on the North, but he said, no, I have to be with my state. You know, and the state was his whole thing, and he went to the South. And he was, I've had generals tell me, we have some great generals, the real generals, not the ones you see on television, the ones that beat ISIS with me. We defeated ISIS in
Now, he's telling this story about Lincoln kind of having, being afraid of Robert E. Lee or whatever, right? Here's another interesting thing about Lincoln that you guys might not know. Lincoln had a bad habit of talking shit to people. Like, he would lose his temper. As a young man, he would lose his temper and he would talk shit to people, right? So one day he talked shit to the wrong guy, right? He talked shit to the wrong guy. And the guy challenged him to a pistol duel. You know, the old school pistol duel where the two of you stand back to back with your pistols and you walk and then you turn around and shoot or whatever. And Lincoln knew he wasn't going to be able to beat this dude. He knew he was about to lose his life. You feel me? But back then, if you got challenged to a pistol duel, it's like you had to do it or you'd be considered a coward and all of that crap, right? And so something happened where I can't remember exactly, but something happened where Lincoln was able to get out of it. I think the dude may have gotten deleted or something right before. I can't remember exactly. I can't remember the story exactly. But after that, after having that close call with losing his life, he stopped talking trash to people whenever he got upset. Whenever he got upset, he would sit down and he would write a letter and then fold the letter up and put it away. And they said that Lincoln had like all these letters, like these freaking letters that he had wrote from when people got him angry or whatever. And it just allowed him the ability to control his temper. And you know what I found out? It actually works. If you ever get mad at somebody, right, in this day and age, you ever get mad at somebody, you want to talk trash to them, write the text message, write the whole text message, say everything you want to say, and then delete it. For some reason, just writing it, it's like you get it out and you can move on. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, that's an interesting story about Lincoln.
Record time. It was supposed to take years, and we did it in a matter of weeks. These are great generals. These are tough guys. These are not woke guys. But their favorite general, in terms of genius, was Robert E. Lee.
In terms of strategy, you mean?
Strategically. He took a war that should have been over in a few days, and it was, years of hell, a vicious war. And so here I am standing there, and again, I had never really done this before. I ran a number of months before I won. I probably, I guess if you figured max it out, it would be a year, something like that. So I had never run for office. And I did well. I mean, I went into debates. We had 18 people, including me, and then slowly but surely they started to disappear. We had debates, good debates.
Everyone's aware of all this stuff. But what I want to get to is like, what was the experience once you got inside?
It
like,
was just
what did you think it was going to be like in terms of like your ability to govern?
Yeah.
Like, this is your first experience governing anything. You've never been a
Yeah.
governor.
Always
You've never been a
private.
mayor.
Yeah,
Right.
private stuff.
Business.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden
Well,
you're inside the White House.
The biggest thing was just that first moment of being in this hallowed. It was really a hallowed place to
Right.
me. It was
Surreal.
It was beyond. To me, that was the experience. It was a surreal experience, and then with time, that wears off. With time, it becomes your place where you stay. And
Right.
I was doing a lot of. I had.
Now, if it was me, I'm not even gonna front. I would be in shock. Like I would wake up one day and be like, I'm the motherfucking president. Like I would be on some shit. I'd be like, I'm the motherfucker. Like, even when somebody says, Mr. President, I'm like, he's talking to me. Wait a minute, I am the motherfucking president. Start giving people orders. Hey, go over there. Hey. We don't be coming in this meeting late. Hell is wrong with you?
Two things that I really focused on: governing the country and survival. Because from the moment I won, before I got to office, all of a sudden, they came down. I mean, nobody has ever been treated that way. And you see that. I mean, you see where in the Washington Post very early on, they said, well, now the impeachment stuff starts. And it did. I mean, it literally started from the beginning. So I had survival and run the nation. I had a combination. Most people don't have the survival. They get in.
What did you expect, though, in terms of, like, once you got inside, you had to appoint all these people?
Yeah.
Like, how many appointments did you have to make?
Well, you have
very
actually
short
you
amount
have
of
actually
time?
10,000 appointments. Now they're different. You have big ones, and then they appoint
Right.
100 people and 200 people. But the president really is involved with approximately 10,000 appointments. So you'll appoint a secretary of state, and he or she
Right.
will appoint a lot of people. So it's a lot. But in terms of major ones, you probably have like 100, but they're big ones. Treasury, state, military.
And how
government.
did you know who to appoint?
Well, I didn't. I had no
You didn't.
experience. You have to
Right.
understand, Joe.
So
I
are
was
you
there
going-
17 times in Washington, and I never stayed over. According to the press, which I think is probably right, over the years, I was only there 17 times. I never stayed over. So now I'm sitting there, I'm saying, this place is gorgeous, but I don't know anybody. It's like you go to certain areas, and other areas, they may be great. Washington was great. Washington's not so great right now. We gotta fix it. We gotta make it better. A very dangerous place, very badly maintained place. We're gonna make it great. We're gonna make it better. We're gonna bring it back. But I wasn't a Washington guy. I was a New York guy. I was a New York builder, and I built buildings in New York, and I knew that whole world, but I didn't know the Washington world too well. And all of a sudden, you're supposed to be appointing top people. So
What did you think it was going to be like? Versus, like, did you have any ideas of what it was going to be like, and what was different?
well, I was always involved in politics, but usually from the standpoint.
No, Joe Rogan is awesome, bro. Joe Rogan. Could you imagine? Look, and this is the point that I'm trying to make, right? Kamala better not go to Joe Rogan. Because he's not gonna, he's not, Joe Rogan, because he's genuinely interested. You feel what I'm saying? Like, he's not a guy that's just gonna ask questions. Oh, okay, I got this list of questions. Let me go through these questions. He's not that type of guy. He genuinely is interested in what your answer is. So if you give him an answer that's a non-answer, he's going to be like a dog with a bone. He's going to go right back to it. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Trump is not answering his questions. Trump is doing what a politician does. He's trying to get certain points in there while he's talking. You feel what I'm saying?
Of a donor. I was a donor. I was a big donor. I gave money to politicians. I enjoyed politics.
Mostly Democrats, right?
Both, really, pretty much both. I have actually pictures of Ronald Reagan and me when I was very
Well,
young.
you were a Democrat until, like, what year?
I was a Democrat. I could get you the exact, but the early 90s, I switched over eventually. Actually, they had a Reform Party. I was thinking about doing that for a little while, but then fortunately I didn't because it's very hard. You know, it's a two-party system. And anytime you hear third party, I know you like RFK Jr. and so do I. He's a fantastic guy.
I do, but I thought that
whole
being
thing
an
is very
independent
tough.
was nonsense.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work because even if you do great, you're not going to get Congress. In other words,
Right.
you need now to say, okay, now I'll get half of Congress that's never going to vote for you. So even if you got there, which is very hard, and I know how you feel about Bobby, and I feel the same way, and he's now with us. But it doesn't. It's pure and simple. It's a two-party system.
Right.
And somebody, I won't mention his name, but somebody spent $250 million trying to get the nomination as a Reform Party candidate or whatever, and they got just nowhere. You get eaten. You just get eaten. The system eats you alive.
Right.
So, so it was really somebody that not only was new to Washington, but was new to politics.
Could you imagine spending $250 million to try to run as some sort of third party candidate and it just fizzles out? You spent $250 million for nothing. For nada. It's crazy.
So in the office of the presidency, over the years, all those presidents, you've had 92% were politicians, and 8% were generals. General Eisenhower, General Washington, right? General George Washington. You had generals. So it's 8% no admirals, 8% generals, and 92% politicians. You know, they're politicians and they go on. So they never had a business guy, or they never had a guy that wasn't elected to an office. They were all like Ronald Reagan he was a movie actor, and then but he became the governor of California for, I think, 2 terms, and then he ran. So you never had a thing like this. But I, in terms of me, and sometimes I'd use it as an excuse, and I don't like having excuses actually, but I'd use it as an excuse. I had to rely on people that I respected or liked, but that I didn't know that well because I didn't know them that well. Some of those people I campaigned against because, when you have 18 people, we had mostly politicians running in the election, running in the primaries. And they got knocked out one by one, but I got to like some of them. Some of them I didn't like at all, and I don't like them now. And I'd rely on them, and I'd rely on other people. So all of a sudden, people would come in, I'd like to recommend so-and-so to be Secretary of State, and I'd have 3-4 people recommend. One thing I can tell you, everybody wants the position.
Of course.
No, but sometimes I'll hear, a lot of people don't want to work with Trump because Trump is tough to work with, etc. Let me tell you. Everybody wants to be any one of these positions.
They're lining up right now. I don't know if y'all see this or not. The New York Post just endorsed Trump. You got people lining up right now. Literally starting to switch up because it's looking like, they see the writing on the wall.
Die for it.
Of course.
Now they don't want to be known. I mean, there's a particular guy in New York, primarily, very big, very successful, very strong, very political, although he's not a politician. He'd give anything to be Secretary of State, but if they ask him, no, I don't think I would do it. But in the meantime, begging for it, okay, begging. I
believe you.
Everybody wants it.
But what I wanted to get
by the
to...
way, no matter what you do, but it's very dangerous to pick somebody outside of a politician because a politician's been basically vetted for years.
Right.
You pick a business guy, and they've never been vetted at all, and they're the head of a big company or something, but they've never been vetted. You know nothing about his personal life. You know nothing about where he's been. When you put him in, it's a little bit dangerous because all of a sudden they get checked up, and you hear things that you're saying, "Wow, this is not going to work out too well." So it's very dangerous picking people that are outside of politics is somewhat dangerous.
So you're kind of stuck in a position where you have to pick established people. And then the problem with established people is established people are already indoctrinated into the system.
And they're stiffs in many cases.
Stiffs.
They're survivors. I find that...
Shout out to Focus. He said, from a Gen Z standpoint, Trump is the anti-establishment leader that Gen X needed, but never got back in the day. Correct me if I'm wrong, OG. You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. You are 100% correct. For the vast majority, and I know I'm pausing this a lot, y'all, but it's a lot to take in. Pause. But the problem with our situation as Gen Xers is that the typical politician that was running for office when we were young was boomers, and boomers that you got to think, we had a lot of politicians that were alive during segregation. You feel what I'm saying? So it's not like now where you can get a politician that never experienced segregation. You feel what I'm saying? But most of the politicians that we got had experienced segregation. They were politicians. You feel me? I'm talking about get up there and just flat out lie. Just flat out lie, promise that they're going to do all sorts of things, and then they get into office and they do whatever. Like for instance, prime example. I'll give you a prime example, right? So there is literally, and most people won't understand this, but there's literally no difference between the Bushes, the Clintons, and the Obamas. There's no difference. Even though the Bushes are Republicans and the Clintons and Obamas are Democrats, there's literally no difference. There's absolutely no difference. There's no difference. And that's the reason why you'll hear people today say, oh, well, the politicians is the same. And, but see, Trump changed that. You feel me? You're right now you're witnessing a changing of the guard when it comes to politics, because before, when I was young, the Republican Party was the party of the rich and the party of the elites. And the Democrat Party was the party of liberals and the party of the working class, right? Now, however, with everything that's coming out of Silicon Valley, the internet boom and the dot-com boom and social media, now it's switched. Now the Democrats are the party of the elite and the wealthy and the rich, and the Republican Party has become the party of the working class. But that's because of, part of that is because of Donald Trump, and the other part is because you have so many young people that are part of this whole these new companies that are way more leftist in nature. So you have all of these, you have these guys like Mark Zuckerberg and all of these different guys that are really left-leaning. So now you have left-leaning people with a lot of money to spend. You know what I'm saying? So now the Democrat Party has become the party of the rich and the party of the elite. And this is why you'll see a Dick Cheney and his daughter endorse Kamala Harris, because their views align. You feel what I'm saying? The Rhino aligns with this new age Democrat, which is akin to like a freaking neocon. It's really weird. But this is why a lot of people that typically vote Democrat, like the black community, are falling for the okie doke, because they're not paying attention. They're confused. They think the Democrat Party is still the party of the working class. It's like, no, the Democrat Party is no longer the party of the working class.
That,
What do you mean by stiffs? When you say stiffs?
a stiff, they don't have nothing. They have nothing. Or they're smart and survive. One little thing. So there was a congressman years before I ran, and I was very close to him. and I needed a license on something, and he was very important in getting the license. But it was a little bit controversial, the license, this particular thing that was being licensed. But I was close to this guy and helped him and everything else. And I went to him, I said, I'd like to have your help. And he said, let me take a look at it. I said, ooh, that's not too good. But I really hope you're going to help. And anyway, he tapped me along for a long period of time and ultimately didn't do it. And I said, you are a stiff. You could have done this thing so easy, etc. But it was controversial. He was in Congress for many years, like 28 years. And, you know, there's a reason when somebody's there for 28 years, you got to be sort of smart.
Right.
You know, you have
A
all
survivor.
the scandals. And I realized he was a survivor.
And so they never do anything controversial.
So basically, Donald Trump ran into a Clay Davis. He ran into a Clay Davis.
They never take any chances or speak their opinion that's outside of the... Yeah.
And yet I don't disrespect him for it.
So
I actually respected the guy more in a certain way. I said,
because he did survive.
You know what? He's been there like for 28 years, and he made it through. A lot of people don't make it through.
It's a good way for non-exceptional people to survive.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly is.
So you're in there. You have 10,000 appointments you have to make. So you're getting advice from people. And at one point in time, did you have a moment in time where you realized, these are bad choices? Like, some of these people I shouldn't have had in there.
Oh, yeah. I think, so the one question that you'll ask me, that I think you'll ask me, that people seem to ask, and I always come up with the same answer. If the one mistake, because I had a lot of success, great economy, great everything. Everything was great. The military, we rebuilt it, biggest tax cuts in history, all this stuff. We had a great presidency. 3 Supreme Court justices. Most people get none. You know, you pick them young. This way they're there for 50 years, right? So, you know, even if a president is there for 8 years, oftentimes they never have a chance. I had 3. It was sort of the luck of the draw. But I will say that it always comes back to the same answer. The biggest mistake I made was I picked some people. I picked some great people, you know, but you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
neocons?
Yeah, neocons, or bad people, or disloyal people, or
people that were just
people
bad.
That were into the
You got bad advice.
Yeah, I mean, look, you reading about him a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who was a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around, because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me, because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton. You know John Bolton. A friend of mine called me up. I was picking Bolton, and he's a very smart guy. His name is Phil Ruffin. He's a very rich guy from Las Vegas. He's a great card player. He doesn't play cards, but he's a great player. You know, he's just a natural. Got poker sense, right? You know, the good old poker sense. And Phil Ruffin is a very, very wise kind of a guy, and one of the richest people around, and has had great success and understands people. So it was in that I was picking Bolton, or I picked Bolton. He called up. He said, "Don't pick him. Why? He's a bad guy." Now, he wasn't in politics at all. He's in various businesses. He said, "He's a bad guy. He's just, it always works out bad with that guy." And I said, "Oh man, I wish you told me this 2 weeks ago. I already hired him. You know, he's here." And he was right, but he was good in a certain way. He's a nut job. And every time I had to deal with a country, when they saw this whack job standing behind me, they said, "Oh man, Trump's going to go to war with us." He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East. He should have never done it. I used to say it as a civilian. So I always got more publicity.
So you know what's crazy about this? I am really interested to see what President Trump's presidency is going to be like moving forward. Because the crazy thing about it is, ever since he's been president, and then the 4 years when Biden was president, everybody in Washington has exposed themselves. In other words, I have no doubt in my mind that he knows exactly who to pick and who not to pick. As far as Secretary of State, as far as all of these appointments, I guarantee you this time, he knows exactly who to pick and who to stay away from. That, but that's a whole other thing.
Than other people. And it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
He said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah, man. Trump's going to go to war with us. He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East. They should have never done it. I used to say it as a civilian. So I always got more publicity than other people, and it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe
He said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this bullshit, pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him.
Facts.
When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. And you see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events and you're just talking and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like and you were making fun of Elon one time. You're doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, "You'd be in jail." Like it's great timing. But it's like that kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like no one had done that. And I think
it's funny. You need at least the attitude of a comedian when you're doing this business. This is a very dangerous business. First of all, it's a very tough business.
It's the most dangerous business.
For a job.
Yes, I mean, other than going to war and being a firefighter or being a cop.
Yeah.
It's the most dangerous business.
It's the most dangerous. Being president is the most dangerous.
Especially you. I mean, you haven't even got to the election. There's been 2 assassination attempts. And they've brushed those out of the news like it was nothing.
Yeah, they'd rather not talk about them.
Imagine if there was assassination attempts on Biden, how hard people would be attacking the right. How they would be trying to get guns taken away from people. They would try to ramp up gun laws. They would try to figure out some way to blame you. If there was attacks on, if Biden got shot in the ear, we would have never heard the end of it.
But I think he's in good.
My God. Oh my God. The freaking genius of Joe Rogan. He's everything that we've been saying. He's saying it in this interview, bro. Everything that we've been saying, he is literally saying it in this interview, bro. And you know everybody watches Joe Rogan. Everyone.
Good shape because it's only consequential presidents. If you take a look at what's happened, look, I'm for having countries pay us billions and billions and trillions even dollars. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Nobody took in 10 cents, not one other president. I do things that make it, that don't.
Bro, do you remember when they had us believing that we owed China money? Before Trump got in office, they had us believing that we owed China money. That right there speaks volumes.
Don't necessarily make me so popular. I just do what's right. And when you do that, you're more, look at Iran. Iran, we would have never had the attack on Israel at all.
Barack is punching the air right now. Look, last night when this was on, Barack was somewhere punching the air like Cuba Gooding Jr., bro. Somebody should make that meme. Somebody should take AI and put Barack's face on Cuba Gooding Jr. and put the caption, Barack Obama during Trump's Joe Rogan interview. You see how I just come up with that type of shit off the top of my head, bro. If I had a team of people, bro, like you have no earthly idea, fam. Like if I had a team of people to just put memes and shit together for me, bro, it'd be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous.
All Iran was broke. I told China, if you buy, you can't do business in the United States under any circumstance. We're gonna go cold turkey with China. Some people think that would have been a good idea anyway. But if you buy any oil, 1 barrel of oil from them, you're not doing business. And I said that to many countries. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money. But I make myself, I understand what I'm doing. You make yourself a target. And it's a very dangerous business. But if you just look at statistically, so I saw a thing, I don't know if it's right, but 0.1% for a race car driver. It's a pretty dangerous business, right?
Yeah.
0.1% for a bull rider. I tell you, to me,
you're talking death.
These guys that ride the bulls is worse than UFC. It's worse.
Yeah.
These guys, you see these big monster bulls, and you see it in slow motion where the foot is like, an inch away from the head. If it hits him, the guy's gone. But they die. They die.
So 0.1% die. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 0.1% die.
Right.
And they certainly get hurt badly. Really, they can't walk after a certain period of time. But with a president, if you look at
the amount of assassination attempts.
And attempts, too.
Yeah.
And attempts. No, it's a very dangerous position. I never thought of that, by the way, when I did it. You don't tend to think.
Did you just assume because people loved you on The Apprentice, they were going to love you as a president?
I figured it would be so easy. It's
well,
very
it probably
interesting.
would have been if the media didn't attack you the way they did. If they didn't conflate you with Hitler. I mean, even today, like Kamala was talking about you and Hitler. They're going to take what you said about Robert E. Lee. Oh, Donald Trump wishes the South won.
That's right. He loves Robert E. Lee.
They love to take things out of context and distort things. But
they don't even have to take them out. They make them up entirely. Okay,
they do
make
that
them.
too.
But it's interesting when you mentioned I was very popular, and all those people loved me. I mean, some of these women, they're so stupid, and Joy, she would every time she'd see me, I'd be in the theater or something, and she'd, you have to be on the show again. Come on, let's go.
She loved you.
To love me.
That episode where
By the way, Whoopi,
people should watch that episode just to see what we're talking about. Like I said, we don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're not going to put it up. But
okay.
If you watch the episode, it's bananas. It's like an alternative universe, and it's only
but Whoopi
9 years ago.
Whoopi loved me.
You, gives you a hug and a kiss.
And how about that other one, the new one on there, the one from my administration? She writes me a letter. You're the greatest president. She leaves. She worked as an assistant press secretary. I hardly knew her. But she leaves and she writes me this gorgeous letter. What's her name? She was, I don't even know. She was in the administration. She's on now currently. Sits on the far right-hand side, whatever the hell her name is. And she writes a letter, the most beautiful letter. She's quoted in the paper. He was the greatest president, blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden she goes to the View and she started hitting the hell out of me. Because they won't hire her unless. I've had many people go on CNN and they call and said, I don't know what to do. They want to pay me a lot, but I have to be negative on you. I said, be negative. That's okay. There are guys on like CNN. They won't hire them. Sean Duffy is a congressman, and he retired. He got a good job with CNN, but he was only positive about Trump. So they kept him, but they would never put him on. I mean, I respect what he did. He could have gone, negative. I tell people, go negative. Let my friends make the money.
Well,
it's just so crooked. The press is so crooked.
It's crooked, but it's also they're diminishing themselves. They're killing all their credibility, and it's opening up the credibility to new media. It's opening up the credibility to independent media. All these.
The worst I've ever seen, though, and I've seen the worst. I mean, I've been a part of it. I've seen the worst. Kamala goes on 60 Minutes, gave an answer that a child wouldn't give. It was so bad. And 60 Minutes took the answer out. They took the whole, and they put another answer in.
They edited it deceptively.
Which didn't make sense either, but it was better. They took it wasn't editing. It was fraud. This was not editing. Editing is where I'll give an answer and they'll take a couple of words and change them around, or they might even take a sentence or two off, which is very bad. But it's sort of bad. I'd give an answer, which was a very good answer. I always talk about, I like to give the weave. You know, I like to.
Yeah, you like to weave things
Yeah,
in.
but when you do the weaves, and you have to be very smart to do weaves. When you do the weave, look at this. Just in this one thing, we're talking about little pieces all over here, but it
Gotta
always
get back
ends
to
up.
home.
No, it comes back home.
Yeah.
For the right people. For the wrong people, it doesn't come back home, and they end up in the wilderness, right? but they can take my answer, and you know what? They may take a little piece of it out or something, and they use the term, "Yes, we wanted to save time." Well, it's not. But I've never heard. I think it's the biggest scandal in broadcast history, what happened to CBS. So you have CBS 60 Minutes. That's a news program. It's not an entertainment program. It's under their news. It's the head of their news thing. She gives an answer that shows that she's essentially incompetent. And they took the answer. Could you imagine them doing that for
We can
me?
show it if you want people to see it. Can we
Go
show
ahead.
it? No?
Sure.
We'll get in trouble. We'll get copyright strike. Okay.
I'll
anyone can find
indemnify
it.
you.
But it's drastic. But what was interesting was the other full version was available initially. It was like a preview.
Somebody made a big mistake.
Somebody put that preview out
Some
there.
kid
and
put
then-
the preview out.
Exactly.
And then the bosses did this or that. And then all of a sudden they
Exactly.
said, we got a problem.
Exactly. And then
They
it
got caught
became-
by mistake.
Well,
But don't you think that's a bit, to me, and don't forget, this is election interference and fraud. And it's 60 Minutes, it's their news division. So
it's a big deal.
They give those licenses out, Joe, for free. They should pay a fortune. They're worth a fortune. They give them out for free because they're using the public airwaves. With cable, you don't have that. Cable's different. But, you know, it's just a different deal. But with the networks, they give those licenses. They're worth billions of dollars. They give them out free. But you have to be honest and all. That was bad. I think that David Muir and that woman that was aside, I never even heard of her, but they kept interrupting me. It was like, I said, how many people am I debating here? I got this one and I got you two. But he went after me 11 different times. You know, it's interesting. I always thought he was a nice guy, but he's just like the rest of them. You know?
Well, that's his job, unfortunately, and I'm
but
sure
not when they're
what they
wrong.
want. You're right. Well, the problem was they fact-checked you and they didn't fact-check her. And
Not
one of the
at
most
all.
egregious examples of that was when she said that there are no troops right now deployed in war zones.
Yeah.
There's a very famous viral video that went online of troops in a war zone saying, well, what the fuck are we then? Because there's thousands of them. Dan Crenshaw, the congressman, posted on his Instagram all of the various examples of
Too many.
troops that are deployed, thousands and thousands of troops that are currently deployed.
Stupidly deployed.
But the point is, if this is going to be an actual real debate and not a propaganda exercise, if it's going to be a real debate, you have to fact check everybody.
So
Like if someone
they
says
never went
maybe she
after her.
thought there was no,
Right.
which is also a problem. So it's one of two things. It's either it was not true, it was a lie on purpose, which is terrible, or it was the opposite. It was ignorance, which is also terrible.
Well, Joe, when I said crime is soaring, he said, no, crime has gone down. I said, where did you hear that one? Crime has gone down. I mean, I'm debating with this guy, but I've had that.
Well, there was amended FBI statistics that came out after that
Yeah.
showed that crime had gone up substantially.
And by the way, the statistics were a fraud because when they put out the statistics, they didn't include some of the worst places. They didn't include some of the worst cities, some of the most deadly places. But when
And
the
there was
real
also a
numbers came out,
problem-
I turned out to be right. But I haven't got...
You turn out to be right, but then there's another problem. Unreported crime is way up because people have lost. Look, the morale that the police department has in a lot of these cities where they've done this defund the police bullshit.
Right,
The morale of these
It
poor
is.
cops. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest idea
So
of all
bad,
time.
so
But
bad.
what they've done is they've made these cops feel terrible. They're like good cops. I think cops are just like everybody else. Most of them are great. It's like everybody else. But if you run into one carpenter and he does a shitty job in your house,
right.
you say carpenters fucking suck. But they don't suck. Most of them are great. And
Police
that's the
have
key
been-
thing with cops. But the point is
Yeah.
like they did all of these things in this very foolish way.
Right.
And these cops are suffering the consequences of it. And so subsequently what happens is a lot of crime is unreported. A lot of crime, like you call the cops, they're too busy, they can't even get to you. Oh, your house got broken into? Sorry. You know, it doesn't even make a report. There's a lot of people that they just give up.
It's so sad what's happened. And I'll tell you what, I go to police funerals, and we went to one in Long Island. I visited the family in Long Island, a very big deal. It's so dangerous. People don't realize. The car, dark windows, pull over. He's a gentleman. Please pull over. Door opens, guy comes out firing. even if they were allowed to pull out their gun, which they're not, they can't, pull
Do
out
it in
the
time.
gun.
Yeah.
They still wouldn't have time.
It's every cop's worst nightmare.
They opened a door, and he was killed, and his partner was hurt. He was killed, and you don't even have an eighth of a second to think, and it is such a dangerous job. That in particular, think of it. You go up to a car, you don't know who's sitting.
Shout out to Bob the dog. He said, "Yo, AM spin the block. You beast and salute. Appreciate you."
Sitting there with a gun, and if they have a gun, you really don't have a chance. You're not allowed to have your gun out, by the way. They have very strict rules. So, number one, but even if you could have your gun out, the door opens and bullets start firing out, and especially where they have the dark windows, where they have the darkened windows. It is such a dangerous profession, and it's very hard to get cops now because they're not given any backup. And you're right. They have like an eighth of a second to make a decision that's going to change their life. If they make the wrong decision, they're going to end up on the front page of every newspaper in the country, and they're going to lose their house and their pension and their job, and their wife is going to be gone, and everything's going to be gone.
And here's another thing that people don't talk about. How many of them have PTSD? Probably most of them.
Yeah,
these guys are seeing people shot all the time.
Yep.
I've talked to a ton of cops about it, and a lot of cops commit suicide. A lot of cops are deeply depressed.
But we have to give them back their dignity. We just have to give them back. You said it so good. You never hear anybody say that. You're never going to have it perfect. You're going to have a bad apple.
In everything, in every profession.
But every time there's a bad apple, that gets massive publicity, and it taints everybody else.
But it's also this very irresponsible thing where people say defund the police, get rid of the police. Even Kamala Harris was a part of that. That it's a very stupid way to look at it. What you should do is fund the police. You should have better training. You should have cops that feel more appreciated. You should have something that helps mitigate this PTSD that all of them suffer through.
Right. She was a big part of defund the police. That was a big thing for her. Defund the police. Always defund the police.
Well, it's a political idea,
but
right?
Anybody with that political thought, I don't think should be running for president. And I think people are getting wise to it. We're doing pretty well now. I don't know. Maybe in a week from now, say, sorry about that, I was wrong, but we're leading everything. And I think we're going to have a very good election. But I tell people, because people are starting to get to know her. But she was defund the police. She was all these transgender operations. If you wanted a sex change and you were in detention and you demanded a sex change, they would give you a sex change.
Well, the wildest one is this idea of giving free sex change to illegal immigrants.
That's right. In detention.
That is the wildest
But
thing.
she
Is that the biggest problem you have?
Yeah.
You just walked here from Guatemala. You need to become a girl?
But she was in favor of it.
Yes.
So think of it. She changed. She changed 15 policies. In fact, I'm going to send her a MAGA cap.
She stole your idea about no tax for tips.
I came up with this idea that honestly nobody ever heard of. And now it took her 2 months, but you know what? All of a sudden,
It caught fire.
and she just put it into a little speech.
Yeah,
well,
it became
but
popular.
I think we still have that issue. I think that issue is a good one for us. But now we have a lot of good issues. We had.
Shout out to TBASJ said all these turn of events for this presidential election have humanized Trump to the public, but this Joe Rogan interview was the icing on the cake. That's facts. That's facts.
The other day, think of how simple some of these things are. We're trying to get cars built in the United States. Detroit has been really tough. It's been a disaster. They have a huge factory, a huge car auto plant being built by China in Mexico, make cars, sell them in the United States, put everybody out of business. Right, here we go again. I said, if that plant is there when I'm president, I will put 100 or 200% tariffs on every car. They'll be unsaleable in the United States. And they just announced they're not going to build the plant because they think I'm going to win. Think of it. They're not going to build the plant. This was the biggest plant in the world. It would have more than all of Michigan makes. That's how big. This is what we're getting to. And I said, if that plan goes up, I want them to understand if I win, I'm going to tax those cars at the rate of 100 or 200% apiece so that you won't be able to sell them in the United States. They just announced they're not going to build the plant.
Yeah, I read this.
I did a big favor for our country by doing that. And I'm not even there yet. To me, the most beautiful word, and I've said this for the last couple of weeks, in the dictionary today and any is the word tariff. It's more beautiful than love. It's more beautiful than anything. It's the most beautiful word. This country can become rich with the proper use of tariffs.
Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure. But why not? Because ready? Our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly.
Damn right. Damn right. Nickel bag gets sold in the park. I want in. You countries got fat while we all starved in the streets. It's my turn. You feel me? That's why. Right there. That's why right there. You feel what I'm saying? I'm tired. I'm sick of it. Why should every other country, why should we be the stepdaddy to every other country? Why? Why? Why should we allow countries that openly, like, yo, it's like that third Godfather movie when Vincent Mancini, Sonny's illegitimate son, he said, why don't you tell him how you're in the street, Joey Zaza? Why don't you tell him how you come here, you smile in my uncle's face, and in the street, you everything is fuck Michael Corleone, huh? Won't you say it to his face one time? Say it to his face one time. Right? Why are we allowing countries that openly curse us to make money here? That is the most ridiculous thing in the world. That is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Dwayne Malcolm said Trump is somebody do me a favor. Give Dwayne Malcolm an escort to the door. Somebody escort him out. Please. Have fun. Deuces. Holla at you. Because listening to all of this, if you listening to all of this and you still talking about you don't like Trump, you, my friend, you know what? I'm not even going to insult you. You're gone. Get out of here.
Frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now. But we had a commission meeting in I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich. We had so much money. We didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on tariffs, and the sole purpose is what to do with all the money we had. We were so rich because we were taxing other people for coming in and taking our jobs. And China does it. That's what China did. If you want to open a factory and sell cars, if you build a factory here or have a factory, they don't take our cars. They wouldn't take our cars. But if you build a plant in China, you can do that. Elon did that. By the way, Elon is great. That guy is such a great guy. I think you're a fan of Elon. Him. He is from a different planet. He's the greatest guy. That rocket coming in. Yeah. I told the story once or twice, so you may have heard it because his speeches have been good. Did you see the one last night?
Yeah.
29,000 people. That was
Yeah.
And the one the night before was the same thing. We are rocking and rolling. But Elon.
Trump is the guy that everywhere he goes, when he starts talking, everybody just surrounds him to listen to him talk. I guarantee you. Like I'm sitting here listening to him talk about the guy he knows in Las Vegas that's super rich and this guy and that guy. Yo, just thinking about the history of Donald Trump in this country, could you imagine the life he's lived thus far? Like, let's just be real about this. Could you imagine the life that Donald Trump has lived thus far? Like, up to this point. You feel what I'm saying? Let's see. Kenneth said, I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me what Trump did for blacks. Well, you know what? Here's the thing about that, Kenneth. You're full of shit. Because I've stated it numerous times on this show, and there are countless people all across the internet that have stated it. So at this point, if you're still running around talking about I want to know what Trump did for black people, you, my friend, are an idiot. And quite frankly, nobody should be wasting their time trying to explain to you what Donald Trump has done for black people. Because guess what? You can't tell me what the hell Biden did for you. Matter of fact, I can tell you what Biden did for you. He drafted the 94 crime bill and locked you up. I can even tell you what Kamala did for you. As a prosecutor in California, locked you up. Instead of coming in here asking us what Trump did, why don't you tell us what the Democrats have done for you? Why don't you tell us what the Democrats have done for you? Why don't you try that? You ain't going to be able to do it because they ain't did shit for you. They ain't did nothing for you. In fact, the vast majority of the things that you have gotten as black people in this country, you got from Republicans.
And I'm talking to this very important guy. I said, wait a minute, I'm looking at something, the television's unmuted, right? And I see this rocket, it's all brown from the heat, it comes like 10,000 degrees pouring down at thousands of miles an hour. And I see this thing, it's like a 20-story building.
And it catches
And I say to this guy, who's an important guy, wait a minute, let me just put you down, hold it, I gotta see this. And I see this, and it's gonna crash. I say, it's gonna crash into the gantry, they call it a gantry. I said, oh man, that's going to be a disaster because it's starting to get very close. And then all of a sudden you see the flames in the bottom, and it boom, and then you see the two arms grab it.
Crazy.
And I forgot the guy. I had him on the phone. I forgot. No, I said, the hell with him. No, I called Elon. I said, was that you? He said, that was me. And I said, who else can do that? He said, nobody. Russia can't do it. The United States, nobody can do it. I set up Space Force. That was me. And that's the first time in 82 years that we opened another branch since the Air Force. And that's going to be one of our most important things. But think of what Elon does. And he did one other thing that I never heard of it. It's Starlink. I went down to North Carolina, Georgia, the different places. I followed it right down. And they had no communication. The poles were all knocked down, everything. And one of the guys in North Carolina said, could you do me a favor? Do you know Elon Musk? Yes. He endorsed me. By the way, he gave me the nicest endorsement, too. The tough. He said, the country's going to fail. You should do the same thing, Jed, because you cannot be voting for Kamala. Kamala, you're not a Kamala person. I know you. I've watched you. I know him better than he is. You know what? Without speaking to you, I think I know you maybe almost as well as your wife. I have watched you for so many years. You're not a Kamala person. You're a Khabib person, but you're not a Kamala person. No, nobody's going to know who Khabib is, but
they know who
he was not bad, right? That guy.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
But that's your kind of
your
person.
weave is getting wide. We're getting wide with this weave.
But isn't it
I want to
much
bring it
better?
back to tariffs.
But wait one second before we finish with tariffs. So they said, could you get him? We need Starlink. And I call Elon. He got it for him so fast, saved so many lives. And I said, how was it? They said, better than the wires. They couldn't put them in. They were all They're all gone. So getting
I
back
used
to
it recently in Utah in
It's
the
great.
mountains.
Did you find it good?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's the size of a iPad. You just set it down on the ground. You get high-speed internet. It's incredible.
We're spending, just to show you, we're spending $1 trillion to get cables all over the country, right? Up to upstate areas where you have like 2 farms and they're spending.
Yo, have y'all seen that Tesla phone? Have y'all seen the Tesla phone? Elon is coming out with this phone that's hooked to Starlink. And the phone, they're claiming the phone is only going to be $100. And I don't care what nobody says. I feel like you'll be able to contact aliens with that phone. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like you could talk to somebody in another galaxy with that phone. You feel me? Like, bruh, let me tell you something. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. I think there might have been a story on it. Let's see. Tesla phone. Yeah, he's coming out with a phone. He's coming out with a phone. And like, bruh, Elon Musk is coming out with a phone, and I got a feeling his phone is going to shut it down. I got a feeling his phone. Now, some of y'all be like, nah, man, that ain't never going to happen. You know, some of y'all might be like, nah, man, it's not going to happen because they make too much money off of phones. You know what else they used to make a lot of money off of? Long distance service. Long distance. See, some of the younger folks don't remember, but they used to make a lot of money off of long distance phone service. So whenever somebody says, oh man, we've been doing this for so long, they ain't never gonna change that, I'll be like, don't be too sure. Because we used to have to pay for long distance. We don't got to pay for that no more. You feel me? We don't got to pay for that no more. And take it from somebody, I've ran up some phone bills. I have ran up some phone bills, bruh. And you know what's hilarious about it? What's hilarious about it is, think about all the money that everybody wasted. Right? Think about all the money that everybody wasted paying for long distance service. You feel me?
Millions of dollars to have.
Well, talk about the
Elon can do it for
$42
nothing.
billion that was wasted on this internet access program. That United States, they didn't get anybody
They haven't
access
hooked
to
up.
internet.
They haven't hooked up one person.
Not
yet.
one person. They
That's
spent
right.
$42 billion. They could have gotten Starlinks to everybody with that kind of money.
For almost nothing.
Yeah.
For a monthly charge.
And it would have been incredible.
And
it's
he
high-speed
wanted to-
internet everywhere you want to go.
And he wanted to do that.
And he wanted to do it.
How about this? They built the charger stations, right?
Uh-huh.
In the Midwest. They built 8 of them. They cost $9 billion. That's like a gas pump, right? They built 9 gas pumps, except electricity comes out. They spent $9 billion. 3 of them don't work. The whole thing. There's so much waste. I could sit here and tell you about things that there's so much waste, abuse, and fraud.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I think everybody's aware of that.
Let's get back to tariffs.
When you're talking about, one of the criticisms of your administration was with tax cuts and with tariffs, you increased the deficit. So what was the strategy behind that? And did you think it was going to increase the deficit?
You know what's crazy about the deficit? This is what's crazy. Do you realize we could have put a major dent in the deficit if we weren't sending money to other countries? If we weren't sending money to other countries and we was hitting countries with tariffs like Trump is talking about, you could literally bring the national deficit down. Literally.
By a substantial amount?
Okay, we were ready to rock. It was all, I had a bad system. We had a horrible tax policy. I made it great. With a much lower tax rate, So I took it from almost 40% down to 21%. Now I'm bringing it from 21 down to 15, but only if you make your product in the United States, which is great. People call me, they said, what a great idea. Nobody ever heard of that before. I don't care if they make the product in Japan. Why should I give them? So it's at 21. That, at 21, in the first year, we took in much more revenue than we did at almost 40. Think of that. It inspired. Now we had other things too. We were able to get people to bring back their money. You couldn't bring back your money if you had money in Europe, like Apple. Apple had many billions of dollars outside. They couldn't bring it. There was no way to bring it back in. The bureaucracy, the documents, the whole thing, and also the tax was too high. You know, they wanted like half of it or something. Nobody's going to do that. So they leave their money in Japan and they spend their money there. That was part of what I did. The money came pouring back in. Apple took in hundreds of billions of dollars. They brought it back from overseas. They brought it in.
So how does the deficit increase because of that?
So what happened is this. We were ready to rock and roll, and then we had the COVID thing, and we had to focus on that. And if we didn't give some businesses a hand, you would have had a depression like in 1929. But we were ready to start. We would have very shortly been paying off debt. You know, we have $35 trillion in debt. And I'll never forget it. It was talking about from, the standpoint of being in office. I'm in the Oval Office, and I have John McLaughlin and Fabrizio. They're two very good pollsters, probably, I don't know, I would say the two best, who knows, but very good pollsters. And we're starting to think about running for a second term. And we had the greatest economy in history. Never has there been an economy like
And you
this.
attribute that to lowering?
Shout out to Sir Bradley. He's an awesome show, AM.
Taxes
a lot
and
of
tariffs.
Two things. And also I cut regulations more than anybody else. And if I asked many of the businessmen, from the big companies, the guys running the big companies, I'd say, so if you had your choice, you've had it now for a long time, what's more important to you, the tax cuts, you paid less tax, or the regulation cuts? Every one of them said the regulation cuts meant more. Who would think that, right? Because you don't equate it to dollars, but it actually is more dollars. We had it going, and then we just had to focus on something else. But they were sitting there, these two pollsters were sitting there, and they said, sir, if George Washington came back and Abraham Lincoln was his VP, as opposed to Waltz, how bad is he, by the way? But if Abraham Lincoln was his VP, they couldn't beat you. And I'll never forget it. The following day, they said, something's happening in China, sir. Could we meet? I said, what's happening? People are dying. And it was all around the Wuhan lab, by the way. There are pictures with little lines. They're body bags.
So, as much as I hate to do this, y'all, we are now past the 3-hour mark, and I don't want to go further than 3 hours because then the show becomes, let's see. We're at the 50-minute mark of the Trump interview. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, we're going to pick up right here where we left off. You feel what I'm saying? We're going to pick up right where we left off, and we're going to review the next part of this tomorrow. You feel what I'm saying? Tomorrow we'll probably review the whole rest of it. You feel me? But, yeah, we're going to do a part 2. Real talk. But, yo, man, shout out to everybody that came through. I really appreciate y'all. Shout out to everybody that contributed. Shout out to our sponsors, Tall and Bryant. I appreciate you guys for being sponsors. Shout out to everybody that hit the like button, everybody that supported the show. I really appreciate y'all. Yo, if you have not checked out my book, The Angryman Standard, go over to Amazon. Type The Angryman Standard in the search bar. You feel me? Type The Angryman Standard in the search bar. I don't know what it is with Facebook. There's a lot of Trump hate on Facebook. I don't know what that's about. I don't really know what that's about. You feel what I'm saying? But it is what it is. But like I said, go over to Amazon and make sure you guys check out my book. All you have to do is type The Angryman Standard in the search bar, and it will come up. It's available in paperback and hardcover. And if you want to check out the merchandise, go over to shopBinoNation.com. Again, that's shopBinoNation.com. Shout out to Prince. He said, "For the cause." Appreciate you. Shout out to Jalen. He said, "For the fire sermon." Shout out to Bradley. He said, "For the Beanos 100. Appreciate you. But yo, salute to everybody that came through, man. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to be right back at you tomorrow, so be on the lookout for me. Holla at you guys later. Deuces.
Spartans! What is your profession?